accountable. The agents of the NPP and the NDC have always been present throughout the collation, as well as the media. The evidence of what transpired from the 9th of December were captured by the media, and this shows a transparent process devoid of bias, and it was open. The parties agreed to the use of scan sheets and their agents approved of them. Mr. Speaker, this has been the process so far, and the evidence exists with all the major media houses that covered the collation. Mr. Speaker, the collation has been transparent. As a commission, we are desirous of ensuring that the people of Ablekuma North have a representation in Parliament. We urge this Honourable House to assist us in getting the support of the Ghana Police Service to provide the requisite protection to enable us to complete this collation exercise. Thank you very much.
The Electoral Commission has just told us that upon the conclusion of the elections in Ablekuma North in respect of the parliamentary elections, they could not account for some pink sheets. They could not. To the extent that they had to accept 25 scanned carbon copies from the NPP. To the extent that the Electoral Commission says that they have accepted scanned carbon copies from the New Patriotic Party. Mr. Speaker, this fact is not supported in the laws that govern the organization of our public elections. It does not. I am putting it to him. You are a layman, so you will appreciate it. Putting it to him by way of question. Mr. Speaker, I am putting it to the Electoral Commissioner that the story that they took scanned carbon copies in the absence of the officially designated pink sheets from the Electoral Commission is irregular in terms of Regulation 43.
The Deputy Commissioner is saying that all they need is police protection. But in the fight for civil liberties and in the protection of rights and freedoms, people have suffered for it. I want to ask you, don't you think that you can take the moral high ground with all the confirmations done, like you did in the Domiko Abenya? Domiko Abenya, when you were declaring, there was no police. I was available. Domiko Abenya, there was no police. You, a party protested, but you proceeded. So don't you think that on the strength of what Mr. Idrisu and Mr. Nitiwo have advised, coupled with the very point I'm making, you as a commission can boldly proceed to conclude this so that Ghanaians will see that the police has delayed you and you had proceeded to do your constitutional duty even at the peril of your life.
Mine is just one of 3 observations, but Mr. Speaker, they will come in a question form before I make my proposition. Mr. Electoral Commissioner, are you aware that declaration of results is governed by law?
Yes, Deputy Commissioner.
Yes, please.
And are you aware that the law that allows you to declare results defines where results should be declared?
Yes, Deputy Commissioner.
Is a police station one of those entities lawfully allowed where you should declare results?
Deputy Commissioner.
No, the question again.
is a police station where results should be declared by the Electoral Commission in accordance with law and the constitutional instrument guiding your conduct of elections, whether presidential or parliamentary.
At times, circumstances allow that.
No, Mr. Speaker, you see, Mr. Speaker, that's why ordinarily I waited to listen. This House, Parliament, is the guardian of human rights and freedoms. And Parliament is the guardian of fundamental freedoms. And Parliament is the guardian of independent constitutional bodies. And now my observation, so that you understand where I'm coming. Mr. Speaker, let's not take these matters for granted. If you have 276 constituencies of the Republic, you declare results with outstanding 9, and you have the comfort to sleep and wait for 1 or 2 weeks or more to declare the rest. Do you know what will happen to our democracy if you had something akin to 2020? You know what will happen to our democracy? That you declare results and you have up to 9 constituencies. Regardless, I'm not interested in who won the seat, but you have an independent electoral commission. You are to declare results. And Mr. Speaker, that result has an implication and consequence on the balance of power.
It's saying that all they need is police protection. But in the fight for civil liberties and in the protection of rights and freedoms, people have suffered for it. I want to ask you,
3FM Sunrise,
don't you think that you can take the moral high ground with all the confirmations done, like you did in the Domiko Abenya? Domiko Abenya, when you were declaring, there was no police. I was available. Domiko Abenya, there was no police. You, a party protested, but you proceeded. So don't you think that on the strength of what Mr. Idrisu and Mr. Nitiwo have advised, coupled with the very point I'm making, you as a commission can boldly proceed to conclude this, so that Ghanaians will see that the police has delayed you and you had proceeded to do your constitutional duty even at the peril of your life.
The best in the morning is on 92.7 Sunrise on 3FM.
The debate from the House of Parliament, Alexander Kwame Apanyumaki, the majority leader, Nitiwo, and also before that, Dr. Bosman Asari, who is number 2 at the Electoral Commission here in Ghana. Emmanuel Kotin is Executive Director, Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism. He joins us now on the phone line. Kotin, good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Johnny, good morning, and very good morning to your cherished listeners.
Great. This is where we are now. The Electoral Commission says they are anxious and desirous of getting the people of Ablekuma North a member of Parliament. We know that the last stalemate ended when there were some security issues around the counting of the ballot and, burning and destruction of the EC's
and constitutional compliance, and at best, the proper application of electoral regulations. So for the benefit of our listeners and for educational purposes, I would like to be in the middle lane, and we'll look at the key constitutional provisions, the right to representation, and then we'll look at the analysis of the core issues, looking at other instances of issues of this nature that have happened. And when I talk about other instances, the SAO experiment, even though the dynamics are not the same. Then we can look at resolution framework that will guide policy makers in our bid to make our electoral commission a very independent body that can guarantee our democracy.
Right.
Now, if you look at the 46 of the 1992 Constitution, it provides in the performance of its function, the Electoral Commission shall not be subject to the control or direction of any authority, except as provided in the Constitution or any other law not inconsistent with the Constitution. So if you look at this provision, I find it very difficult to understand why the Electoral Commission is hiding under the caveat of security in pronouncing this result, if indeed they are ready to pronounce same. If you look at the Asafwa case, there are other arguments that there is a pending suit at the Supreme Court, which the police are also playing hide and seek with that. The reason why they cannot provide security to the Electoral Commission because they are waiting for an advice from the Attorney General's Department. I think that matter has been settled by the Supreme Court. Until it is expressly given, I don't think that it stops the police in its oversight duties of providing security to the Electoral Commission in declaring the results. Now, let's look at the right to representation, which is so key to some of us. If you look at Article 42 of our Constitution, it provides that every citizen of Ghana of 18 years of age or above and of sound mind has the right to vote and be entitled to be registered as a voter for the purpose of public elections and referenda. This constitutional right extends to having effective representation in Parliament. Now, Parliament has gone recess and they are back. Are we repeating the SAO phenomena in the Ablekuma North case? I think that is very unacceptable. I think the Electoral Commission have certain powers, especially if you look at Article 51. It says that the Electoral Commission shall, by constitutional instrument, make regulation for the effective performance of its function under this Constitution or any other law, and in particular for the registration of voters, the conduct of public elections and referenda. So, you see, Johnny, when the SAO issue came,
right,
some of us spoke, but the powers that be never listened. And that SAO incident was in breach of our Constitution. And none of us, as citizens, had the muzzle to even challenge the impeachment of the Electoral Commissioners for this violation. You see that it is repeating itself. And it is creating a very dangerous precedent for our Constitution. To me, if the Electoral Commission was able to declare the Domi Kominya seat, even without the representation of one of the candidates. I don't think there's anything that stopped them from declaring the Ablekuma North seat, if indeed they are so convinced that they have all their facts as they are, except 3 polling stations. And you see, the comments by one of the deputy electoral commissioners is quite prejudicial when he alluded to the fact that they are not considering a rerun.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
I don't think that augurs well for an independent-minded body, because we are looking at sets of facts, is that not it? And I'm happy he made mention that they are relying on the scanned copies of the pink sheets, and at best both parties must agree. If they don't agree, they rely on the electoral officers in that area to bring what they have. I think they said they have what they call the telecast sheets or something like that. So in the event that both parties are not able to agree, what is the best solution forward? Is it not a rerun? So if you put the cat by the mouse, what happens? So I think statements of this nature does not augur well for the independence of the Electoral Commission. And Johnny, look at this scenario. Is it the same Electoral Commissioner who had the military guarding her house?
That's correct.
Are the military guarding her house as we speak today?
I don't know.
The best in
the
morning.
Is it not the same life we are talking about? So sometimes when we create certain conditions, right, the same condition comes to haunt us. That is why when we are given power, Johnny, we make sure that the institutions work for everybody because of tomorrow. So let's do analysis of the core issues. 1, does the EC need police authorization to declare results? The constitutional position is clear. The EC is independent under Article 46, which suggests that it should not be subjected to external control in performing its constitutional duties. So what is the Electoral Commission talking about? So if you look at the public election regulations, it requires the EC to declare results after collation is completed, but not explicitly mandated by police approval. So the Constitution is clear here. And if you look at the current practice versus constitutional requirement, why security to me is very important for safe collation, conditioning the EC's ability to declare lawfully collated results on police authorization potentially undermine constitutional independence. That is the way I see it, Johnny. So the EC primary duty is to declare accurate results based on proper collation and not to await external permission. So I think that it settles the matter on that aspect. And this will be my recommendation. I would recommend that the EC should prioritize its constitutional mandate to declare results while coordinating with security agencies for operational safety, but not subject its core functions to external approval. Second, Johnny, let's look at the reliance on campaign sheets from interested parties.
Right.
Transparency concerns. 1. I listened to the NDC Deputy Director of Elections yesterday when he warned that users scanned documents not agreed upon by all parties sets a dangerous precedent for future elections and undermines transparency and trust in the electoral process. This is where I call on Ghanaians. We are building our democracy. Over partisanship is destroying our democracy. You see what is happening in the United States of America today because of over partisanship. Certain constitutional provisions are thrown away. That is putting democracy itself at risk. And that is the same thing that is happening in this country. I will plead with both the NDC and the MPP to look at the future of our democracy. Because look, Johnny, if the Ablekuma North Seas go in favor of either of the political parties, it's not going to change the dynamics in Parliament. Is that going to do?
It is not, indeed.
It's not. So this is where we must be patriots and put Ghana before this partisan consideration we have always put ourselves into. And, it's not occurring well in our forward march in building our institutions as far as our democracy is concerned. So let's look at the constitutional standards, Johnny. You see, the Constitution requires transparent and credible elections. Using documents from interested parties without consensus among all stakeholders raises serious questions about electoral integrity. So can you blame the NDC Deputy Director of Elections when he comes out to say this? And if you listen to our parliamentarians in Parliament, depending on the side of the divide you are, you were tended to argue in a particular way. And I don't think it helps our democracy. And we can also look at best practices. You see, if you look at documentary evidence used in collation, the key word is that it has to be verified and accepted by representatives of all parties or obtained through neutral means. Unilateral provision of documents by interested parties violates the principle of transparency that undermines Ghana's electoral system. We have been knocking our chest that we are the beacon of democracy in Africa. Is that the legacy we want to live over? A small matter of this nature. It's not as if it's a 50-50 thing, and whoever wins will tilt the balance of power. So my call again is that let us be patriots and then look at how we can safeguard the integrity of Ghana as far as our slogan of being the beacon of democracy for Africa entails. So now, let's do a comparison between what is happening now and the South case. You know the South case in 2000,
2020 to 2024, right?
Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi.
Right.
Were denied constitutional rights to vote in parliamentary elections due to administrative delays in creating their constituency after regional boundary changes. You remember the former president, now the president, described this as one of the greatest travesties of democracy, noting that one of the basic tenets of democracy was a slogan that said no taxation without representation. You remember that favorite quotation by the then former president, now the president. Now, look at the constitutional violations in this. I'm not a legal expert, but I'm a legal expert. But I've listened to many who have argued that the EC failure to organize parliamentary election in the SWA area violated Article 42 of the Constitution and was unprecedented and potentially an impeachable offense, since it is a willful violation of the Constitution that strikes at the heart of representation. So, I mentioned it earlier in my opening statement. Why did we test this matter in court, even though these issues were raised in court by the people of these affected areas? But because of political expediency, it didn't travel through the length of time until the 4 years. So, as a basis, I'm always of the opinion that the legislature, as one arm of government, we must also look at the judiciary. And the judiciary must play its independent oversight.
But how is the judiciary not independent in this matter?
Because when the matter was brought before the judiciary, you saw the length of time it took. This was a special matter that affected the rights of people. The Chief Justice at the time could have created a caveat and put in place a special court to try this matter within a time-tested period, such that these people could be given the opportunity to participate in the last parliament, such that their laws were not violated. But in these instances, we didn't get that. So let me move quickly to my recommendation in the way forward. We have to look at constitutional compliance journey, transparency requirements, and security coordination. And I think that in all of this, let's put Ghana first.
I see. And in putting Ghana first, the political parties do have a role to play, because it does appear that both the NDC and the MPP, including their bigwigs, do not want to, leave anything to chance. They don't want any of them or either of them to have the seat in contention. And that's where the problem is. While they lock horns, the people in Ablekuma North are being denied representation. What should the leadership of both parties be doing at this time? Should they get to a table and have a conversation, or should they yield to the EC on what the EC wants to do? What should they be doing?
Johnny, the Constitution is the supreme law, and any other law inconsistent of it is void. So I will come from the constitutional angle. You see, this administrative convenience or security concerns cannot override constitutional requirement for timely and transparent elections. That is why I am surprised that this matter is not even in court. But I see many other politically motivated matters, people rushing in court to test the laws. And why are we not testing the laws on this matter? And the Constitution is very clear. Until we do that and we leave this space to the politicians, Johnny, your guess will be as good as mine. This thing will be in circles, and it can go the 4 years span, just like we had in the Swan case. And I don't think that we should allow this to continue. So the Electoral Commission must look at its integrity, look at its core functions under the Constitution, and do the needful. As for the two political parties, if we are to leave this thing into their hands, whether one to agree or the other not to agree, we can have a solution. That's why we have an independent body like the Electoral Commission being the referee.
I see. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Kotin. We're grateful for your time, and we're always happy to spend our mornings with you. We're grateful indeed.
Most grateful, Johnny.
Great. Okay.